reaching out. Hello there. Welcome to Saturday night movie night, since it didn't happen last night. Hope you can hear me okay, and you can hear me over the fire. I'm pretty sure that I've unmuted everything, so we should be good. So tonight's movie is called Half a Sinner. It's supposed to be a comedy. I don't know what it's about. It's another Universal movie. It's supposedly public domain, which means they'll probably claim it when I put it on YouTube. Okay, I'm glad you can hear me. Well, at least I know that's working then. So how are you doing tonight? You having a good weekend? Oh, I'm sorry you're sick. That sucks. That is definitely no fun. You need to get better. I command it. I command you to get better. We may as well get into our movie. Excuse me. And see what we are getting ourselves into. And hopefully the movie isn't too loud. But if it is, I can turn it down. Puppy Fight, thank you for subscribing. Puppy. Aww. Thank you. It means a lot that you would subscribe. We gotta get all those. Thank you so much.
Will No. Not try to be good. What do you mean?
Aww. It's very appreciated.
I think you mean nothing of importance, don't you, Willie? Yes, Well, please try to be as busy as a bee without the buzzing. Quiet, children. Quietly. Take your places quietly. Stay where you are. All right, children. Forward march. Bye, Miss Day. Bye. That will do, Willie. I don't want to keep you in on a lovely day like this. But I have no alternative when you're unruly. What made you write in this book? Teacher's an old maid and I hate school. Because I do hate school. But discipline is good for all of us, Willie. And in after years, you'll be grateful for an education.
I'm gonna beat your ass, kid.
Why
And
would
you'll
one
thank
make
me
you say
for
that?
it.
Because I hate being great.
Oh, I know it's the spring. I feel it too.
B-Boy Wonder 818,
But
thank you
everybody
for the
has
follow.
duties and responsibilities, Willie.
And welcome
None of
to
us
the
are
channel.
able to live as we'd like to live. So you may as well learn to make the best of things, if you can't escape them.
Yes, Can I go now?
Yes, Willie. You may go now.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
naughty again, eh? Yes, Well, I've always liked the naughty ones best.
We all like the naughty ones, don't we?
Why, Margaret, what a thing. to
Another
say.
fetish movie.
Well, I do. The good ones never seem to have the necessary imagination or initiative.
I know, but I never imagined you felt that way, too. Margaret, tell me, do you ever feel tempted to kick over the traces?
Every spring. I never do, though. Too old and too ugly. Now, if I were your age and looked like you and knew what I know now,
Yeah, this one definitely got onto that early on.
I've been longing to smash everything and run amok all day.
when I was 28, a man smiled at me once in a movie.
I mean, I've joked about wanting that Pornhub sponsorship, but
And what happened?
Nothing. That's
this wasn't
just
how I
it.
wanted it.
You mean you didn't smile back?
Of course not. I was much too well brought up. But ever since then, I wished I had. I went back there for years, but I never had the chance again.
Men don't smile at
I
me
always
much,
worry
either.
that it's going to turn out that this movie is actually like an early porno.
Flat-heeled shoes.
Well, you know yourself I couldn't hold on to the job a minute without them.
If I were your age, I would want to hold on to it.
But I've got to hold on to it, Margaret. Jobs are scarce and hard to get. Jobs where a girl is safe.
Well, if I had my youth over again, I wouldn't be so anxious to be safe. Miss Gladden?
Oh, for me?
Yes, Miss Gladden, I picked them myself.
Oh, thank you, Sally.
Violets and spinach, both grow out of the earth. I'm spinach, a useful vegetable and full of iron. But nobody cares much about spinach. I never had a chance to be a violet, much as I'd like to be. But you have.
You're full of nonsense today. Dangerous, unsettling nonsense. What's got into you, Margaret?
My birthday.
Spinach
I'm
got into
40.
her, apparently.
You begin thinking a lot of things when you suddenly find yourself 40.
But how can you suddenly find yourself 40?
You can.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I mean, congratulations.
What for?
Have some spinach.
Thanks.
Now we walk and walk and walk. That is a very cool hat. There was something to be said for fashion in that era.
Yes, Granny?
It's Saturday afternoon. How about the mending?
That was scandalous.
What's happened to you? Nothing yet, Granny. Where'd you get this dress?
I bought it out of the money I saved up, and I've kept out just enough to go to the Savoy for tea.
Have you lost your wits?
No. But I've just realized I'm 25. I'm getting older every day. Do you realize that, Granny? I'm getting older every day.
But we all are, aren't we?
Yes, but we don't stop
Yep,
to
she
think
definitely
about
got an upgrade.
it. Life goes on.
And she just
Before we know
realized
it,
she
our
gets
time's
older.
up, and maybe we haven't really lived at all.
Lived?
Silk.
I think she's having a
Real
meltdown.
sheer silk. Lovely things. One wearing would probably finish them. Not serviceable at all.
But I don't care.
Anne! Ever since Father died, and you came to live with me, I've done exactly as you said do about everything. I've worked hard. I've worn good, plain, serviceable clothes. I've borrowed books from the library to read, and I've saved my pennies. I'm sure that was the wise way to live. But I'm tired of being wise. That sort of life is all anyone wants or expects when she's old. But I'm young, and it's the privilege of the young to be foolish. I'm pretty. Do you realize that? I'm going to have one day of freedom from rules and regulations, from worry and responsibility. Yes, and from duty. For this one day,
So
I'm going to do
scandalous.
exactly as I please and darn the consequences. You understand, Delilah,
She
don't
does
you?
have nice
You've
legs,
been paid
yeah.
that too.
And shaving is
Well,
a
what the
chore.
heck? You have a fling.
Bye bye, Birdie.
The window's open, Anne.
I know it.
She's gone. She'll never come back. The cats will get her. Other birds will fight with her. She'll starve.
Perhaps. But it'll be worth it to her to be free again.
That was kind of mean. You can't just set other people's pets loose and say, oh well, it's worth it if they die.
Watch the hack. I'll be back in a minute.
Hey, True King Mob, how are you doing? Shaving is a chore. Beards and pit hair and leg hair. She is a bit of a meanie.
Look. Your mother told you to
I was rooting for her until she set the bird free. It was just like, oh well, it dies, it dies. At least it dies free.
Oh, I can take care of myself. Don't worry about me.
I won't.
Waiting for your brother, eh?
Exhausted from the money hustle. Yeah.
You'll see in a minute.
Yeah, work does that to
He
you.
too, and he has a very quick temper.
Oh, that's too bad.
But I'm glad you were able to
It's
join
on
us.
your account. Hey, you're kind of a cute trick, you know?
Hey, Ribs, how are you? Thank you for joining us. I'm glad you're here.
I'll call a police officer if you don't go away and leave me alone.
Go ahead, call one.
She's not gonna call a police
What do you know how to
officer.
get? That's okay by me. You'll soon melt. They all do.
This is just another fetish. Whoa. I'm doing good, Ribs. Glad I was able to stream tonight since I wasn't able to do it last night.
I told you not to come here. Every cop in town knows you by sight. And as soon as they find that body, they're sure to start looking for you.
They ain't found the body yet, have they?
So what?
Hey, some David stole our hack.
What, with a stiff in it? What does he mean with a stiffin'?
Well, we didn't have a chance to dump him, Chief.
Do you mean to tell me you rubbed him out and left his body in the car?
That was a hot car. We stole it for the job.
And it's parked right in front of this door.
Well, we were going to throw the guy
Well,
in the river
it
the
was
minute we
parked
plugged
there
him,
until it
we
got
saw a couple
stolen.
suspicious guys looking, so we just drove on.
Yeah, and then we find another spot and some kids breeze by.
Yeah, we decided we'd wait until the night.
I see. So you bring him here.
Hey, you don't have to worry. He's all covered up in the back
Covered up with what?
with an overcoat, ain't he?
What overcoat?
Yours?
Your overcoat.
My overcoat.
Now, wait a minute, Chief. I forgot. As I was going out the door, I grabbed your
Yeah, they are
overcoat by
pretty
mistake
bad at
and-
this whole murder
well,
for
I
hire
didn't
thing.
think until afterwards.
So, you covered him up with my overcoat. With my name in the label, and it's still over him. Is that the setup?
I guess it is, Chief.
Red? I don't know how long you want to live, but I know how long you're going to live if you don't get that coat. Just 10 hours.
Yeah, but look, Chief.
Grab Hansom's hack and follow that dame. No rough stuff, just watch your chance and get that coat.
But how do I know where she's went?
You'd better find out, Red.
Use those psychic powers. Come on.
And Red, don't come back without the coat.
Just don't come back. That seems like a simple solution.
Calling all cars, calling the highway patrol. Watch for stolen car. It's a Stevens night. M8 12124. M for
Oh my
Mary.
God, it's car 54. Where are you?
Looks like a gang job, boys. Be careful. They're dangerous.
Smokey George disappeared. The big shot car snatcher.
I mean, that was my first thought. Is it's like, fine, I just won't come back. See ya. It's been fun.
Figure he snatched that big limousine that was reported stolen this afternoon. I didn't hear anything about a limousine being snatched. What time was it missed? Am I aiming to get information from you, or are you aiming to get information from me? Which is working for who? Snuffy? Which side
Sometimes
are you
stock
on?
footage is
Are
all
you
that
a
stands
stool
between
pigeon or
us and
not?
chaos.
If you ain't willing to live up to our gentleman's agreement, it's all right with me. I can serve my information someplace else. What information? You hold out on me and I'll lock you up for obstructing an officer. The car was missed about 2 o'clock. Smokey didn't leave Snicky's till 2:30. Saw him there myself. Just walked out casual like and ain't been seen since. Well, then I guess Slick Capescu's gang got him after all, then. Yeah, that's what his dame thinks. She's going crazy. Says Smokey was on his way to meet her, and nothing would have kept him from keeping the date unless he was rubbed out.
Yes, you have a diamond. You're special. You're all special.
Did you hail me?
Why, yes, I did.
Did you want something?
Well, yes, I must have. I mean, I did, of course. Otherwise, why would I have stopped you?
Exactly.
Well, my car, you see,
What's wrong with it?
oh, heaven only knows, the ignition or the carburetor, or maybe the battery's run down. There might be water in the gasoline. You know anything about cars?
Not a thing.
Oh, I suppose you've
There's
got
a switch.
chauffeur
A
to
guy
look after you.
asking a woman if she knows anything about cars.
Of course. And he's such a
You're
good
welcome.
mechanic, too. But,
You have the cutest
unfortunately,
emotes.
This is his day off.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yes, isn't it?
Well, I can't get the darn thing to go. Would you mind giving me a lift to the nearest garage?
Oh, no, I couldn't. I mean, I daren't. Really, this car, you
It's
see,
courtesy of the road, you know. It's done every day. It's quite proper. It doesn't mean a thing.
Oh, well, I suppose I may as well.
Thanks.
Okay.
She's far too trusting.
Marvelous luck you're coming along just then.
Had you been waiting long?
Years and years. You often go out alone like this on the chauffeur's day
The
off?
cutest emote of all.
No. In fact, I've never done
You
it
are too
before.
kind.
It's a pretty big car for you to handle, isn't it?
Oh, I find I can manage well enough. Though, of course, I've
I
only
think you're
driven
right,
small
puppy.
cars before.
Just
You see,
collecting all the cute
this isn't
emotes.
really mine.
With your brother?
Yes.
I'm alone in the world.
Are you? So am I, really.
But I thought you just said that this...
Oh, not my real brother. Someone who helped me once in a very critical situation. Helped me unwittingly, too. That was a wonderful part of it. Isn't this a garage we're coming to? Aren't you leaving me here?
Well, no, that is, I mean, yes, but it is a garage, but you just can't go up and abandon me. I simply won't let you go.
No?
No, that is not until I find out whether or not they can help me.
Oh, very well. You make inquiries, and I'll wait.
Promise?
Promise.
Does this count as their first date?
Oh, say, I left my car down the road a ways, a Roadster, license PA65. Will you pick it up for me?
Sure, what's wrong with it?
Nothing. I just want you to hold it here for me till I come for it.
Charge him parking.
Okay, pal. Okay, here are the keys.
Can they take care of it for you?
Yes, but it's going to take them a long time. It'll be awfully dull waiting around here.
Yes, I suppose it would. I know. We could have tea.
That's right. We could, couldn't we?
Of course. I know I shouldn't.
Courtesy of the road, you know.
You really think that covers it?
I'm sure of it.
Very well, then.
Strangest pickup plan ever.
Where should we go?
Well, let me think.
You look as if you had a really serious question to answer.
What? Oh, tea. Oh, well, how about the Chester Country Club? It's not far off.
Surely that's only for members.
Well, I thought you'd probably be a member. Anyway, when they know who you are, they won't make any difficulties.
Who am I?
I don't know, but you must be someone important.
What makes you think that?
Well,
You have a dead
car,
body?
way you look, and your manner, and everything.
Can't always trust appearances.
No, I guess you're right, but then just the same, I'll bet we get in without any trouble.
Oh, I hope so. Would be fun to have tea there.
Maybe Slick's gang picked up the car to give Smokey a ride.
I'd like to get on the trail of that car. Might give me a lead to Slick's gang, and if I could round them up, it'd mean promotion. Maybe to the Metropolitan Force.
Yeah, maybe it just drove past.
It's a missing car. I saw the license number. And it went right by the police station. Who was in it? I couldn't see it. It went by too fast. But I'll get it.
Hey, the speed limit is 20 miles an hour in that town.
Was I doing more than that?
Well, not more than 3 times, and we just passed a police station.
Did anyone
Oops.
notice it?
I think so. I see a cop climbing on his motorcycle and heading this way.
Oh, dear. We'll have to lose him.
I should think so, yes.
You don't understand. There are reasons why it would be awkward if we were stopped.
Maybe I can guess one of them.
No, you couldn't possibly. I look so innocent, you'd never believe I could do anything so terrible. Can't seem to make it go any faster. What does the speedometer say? I don't want to take my eyes off the road.
Well, don't. We're doing 80.
Damn.
I wish a truck would come along.
What?
To delay him, I mean.
Look here, there's a right turn just ahead. Now, it's a bad road, and we might just manage it. He couldn't possibly.
Where?
Here.
Why could a motorcycle not manage that
Is he
road?
following us?
Yes.
Okay, maybe that's why.
No. Not now.
What's that popping?
A pop gun.
You mean he's firing at us?
He's certainly firing in this general direction.
Oh, dear.
He's
That's
firing
not just
in our
speeding.
general
He must
direction.
know what I've done.
I suppose you know whatever you've done, you've made me an accessory after the fact.
Have I? Oh, dear, I didn't mean to. You can get out and leave me if you like. No one's seen you with me. Now to identify you, I mean.
Except the fellow at the garage.
Oh, that's right. I'm so sorry. Well, never mind.
I don't
You
even
get
know
out
what
and-
she's
and I'll
done.
go back and do something about him.
No, that's all right. I can take care of myself. As a matter of fact, I'm in the game, too.
What game?
Wait till we get somewhere where we can talk.
Which way?
Right.
But we're doubling on our track.
I know. Maybe we can lose him that way.
Hello again.
What's the matter? Hello, Red. How are you? What are you up to, Snuffy? Trying to keep that car in sight.
He definitely is. He wants it
Because the
bad.
car's been snatched, that's what for. No. Yeah. I recognize the license numbers. I see, and I suppose the cops told you to be on the lookout for it. Hey, I heard you turned stoolie, is that right? That's a dirty lie. I've been a crook all my life. Somebody's trying to ruin my reputation. Yeah?
Now, I'm wise.
I'm
I
a
tell you,
crook,
I happen
damn
to
it.
notice the
Don't
name
you
on the
insult
driving
me by
license on the
implying
shaft
that
there.
I might
I
work
happen to
with
know
the
the police
police.
are looking for this car.
Oh, dear, I hoped you wouldn't. Then you do know.
Well, not everything. Who are you working for?
Well, the government, in a way.
The
I think this
government?
movie is going to turn out to be the origin of a wet bandit of
Not
everything.
hard, impossible. What am I supposed to think you are, a G-woman?
Of course not.
I suppose you rubbed out that guy back there as a favor to the president.
I don't think I quite follow you.
You don't, lady. You lead them all. Perhaps it's indelicate of me to mention it, but I'm burning with curiosity to know who that stiff is behind us.
Is someone
It,
following
it
us?
won't ever
No,
die.
not following us. We're
That is
transporting
true.
him in comfort. The stiff, the body, the dead man. Hey!
Oh, that's right. That's what she's afraid about police stopping her for, because she stole the car.
Is that really a body?
Well, I haven't examined it in detail, but there is certainly the hand of a dead man back there.
Oh!
Run away! Run
Hey,
away!
wait a minute.
Hide from it behind a
But
tree.
how did he get there?
Well, that's what I expected you to tell me.
Somebody must have put him there.
How true.
No shit.
Before I took the car, I didn't know he was there.
Well, I wondered why you were driving him all over Chester County.
Good heavens, this is awful. Has he been murdered?
Well, that'd be my guess. When people die naturally, you seldom find them wrapped up in the back of a car.
We must get away
Oh,
from
no,
him.
leave it here. It wouldn't be wise to do that.
No, I suppose not.
It'd be awkward for us, wouldn't it, if somebody noticed it while we were having our tea?
But what are we going to do?
Thanks for that weed. I think the best thing to do would be to park it in the garage, in the darkest corner I can find.
Exactly.
Now,
Dead
you go ahead and
bodies.
order, and I'll follow
Dead
you in a minute.
bodies are pretty good at behaving themselves.
Hey, you won't leave me, will you?
Oh, of course not.
Though I'm
We'll
pretty
see
sure
this
they
thing
wouldn't
through
know which
together.
fork to use
Lovely.
for
I
the
knew you'd
salad.
stand by me.
Brooks sure got swell hangouts these days.
Yeah, you stay here. I'll look around. Hey, buddy, any place a guy can use a phone around here?
Round at the garage, just follow this path.
Thank you.
That is a nice parking garage.
Where's the telephone?
It'll be all right here, won't it? I'm stopping just long enough to have tea.
Yes, I guess it'll be all right, but...
I'm locking it up because, well, I've got something pretty important in it.
Yes, sir, it'll be all right.
Is there a telephone here?
Right up in front.
Thank you.
Please don't even think of breaking into my car. There's something really important in it.
Hello? Give me the police station, please. Well, naturally the nearest one.
That's you, Slick? Red. Been trailing that dame ever since she snatched the bus. No, I ain't had a chance to get it. Because she picked up some guy and ain't left it alone up until now. Now it's here in the garage. At the Chester Country Club. No, not a chance. There's lugs all over the place. They're watching the cars. Yeah, it's still here. Look, Slick. I could shoot this place up and probably get away with it, but you said no rough stuff. Okay, just as you say, Slick.
Yeah. I'll wait till Handsome shows up. Your pals are on at the garage using the phone.
I want to use it too. Ain't you got one here?
Yes, but I ain't supposed to allow anybody to use it.
This once won't matter. It's important. I'm connected with the police, and I want to report.
Very well.
Give me the police station in Ferndale.
Man, the days before mobile phones was rough.
That you, Kelly?
No,
Sorry.
they're not coming.
Hey, I picked up those parties you lost and trailed them to the Chester Country Club.
I'll be right over.
I hope there's not going to be any trouble.
Not for you or me, son. If we mind our own business and keep our mouths shut. Fever too? Hot toasted muffins? Honey and raspberry jam. Is that right, miss?
It looks heavenly.
Will you sign for it, miss?
Oh,
You can pay if you'd rather. It's just the same, miss.
I'd much rather. It makes my father furious to get slips for afternoon tea. He thinks it spoils my dinner.
I dare say it does, miss.
How much? Oh, well,
Oh, thank you, miss. Oh, thank you very much, miss.
Did I see you paying?
I didn't know what name to sign to the slip that wouldn't have got us thrown out. Anyway, it wasn't very much. It's worth it just to be here.
You're a strange sort of crook.
Well, I haven't been a cook very long, you see.
How long?
Well, just since today. Oh, I suppose I am a crook, even if I never intended to keep the car.
But I'm afraid there's no way to prove that to the satisfaction of the court.
No, I suppose there isn't.
And then there's that passenger in the rear to explain. Unfortunately, he can't speak for himself.
But I told told you. He must have been there when I took the car. I just never looked back.
Nor forward either, apparently.
I wish you'd let me explain just how it all happened, will you?
I certainly will. Considering the mess we're in, I think I ought to know.
Well,
That car's
And
still
here's
here.
the Keystone Cops.
But you ain't supposed to know me, see? Red Egan's in there, too. He's one of Slick Capescu's gang, and they're dynamite. What's he up to? I ain't found out yet, but I'll keep trying.
Okay, take care of yourself.
I will.
so you see, I practically had to take the car.
I see. Well, no wonder you had me guessing.
What did you mean when you said you were in the game yourself? Are you a crook, too?
Well, yes, but I wouldn't have told you, only I thought that maybe...
Oh, of course. Well, I'm awfully glad you did. I can't tell you how it's relieved my mind.
Relieved your mind.
Well, yes. I mean, anyone else, no matter how nice or how willing to help, mightn't have been able to get me out of this mess. But being a crook yourself,
Of course.
I suppose this is just the daily grind to you.
One of my duller days.
I suppose you think nothing of getting rid of stolen cars and bodies?
Nothing at all, nothing at all.
I'm
A
looking
good
for
first
stolen
date
car.
is
What
getting
kind
rid of a
car?
dead body.
Big limousine. It looks like it over there.
See you later.
Locked, eh?
Yeah, he said he had something important in it.
Swag, maybe. He was alone, you say?
That's right.
What kind of a looking fellow was he?
Just ordinary, I guess.
You can't describe him, huh?
Well, no, I didn't pay much attention to him.
Well, I'll wait here and see for myself.
Where are we going now?
I have to pick up the car. We'll have to keep driving around until it gets dark enough to get rid of
Oh,
that.
I know, don't say it. I don't want to think about it. I'll just have to try and forget that it.
Did you notice that fellow?
Yes?
Ever seen him before?
No.
Well, he's been following you, and I rather think he could tell us a thing or two about our silent passenger.
He didn't seem to notice us when he passed us just now.
He just didn't want us to spot him, that's all.
Oh, dear.
It's a perfect first date as long as the dead body isn't your date. That would just be
Somebody
awkward.
told you something.
Oh, I locked the car.
Of course.
Oh,
What is it?
there's a cop sitting on the running board.
What do we do? Has he seen us?
No,
You walk
not yet.
away.
No, just follow my lead. Head up. Afternoon, officer. Anything wrong about that car?
And what would be wrong with it?
Oh, I just wondered that we happened to notice the fellow that was driving it, and we thought there was something distinctly fishy about him.
Oh, quite definitely.
Yes.
You saw him then?
Well, yes, he was just ahead of us as we drove in.
You don't know where he is now, I suppose, sir?
Well, as a matter of
It
fact,
is a
I
big
do.
country
I can point
club.
him out to you if you like.
I'd like that very much.
Well, you find our car, will you, Ann, and get it started? I'll meet you at the door. Come along, officer. He's a tough-looking customer. It's a lucky thing you're armed. I wouldn't want any part of him myself.
Don't worry about me, sir.
I'll bet not.
With that kind, I shoot first and ask questions afterwards.
Yeah, that might be the best for all concerned. Oh, there he is.
You sure that's the man?
Well, just look at him. What's he doing in a place like this? Would you say he had any legitimate business here?
I'll soon find out.
I mean, just look at him. He looks like someone who would put a body in a car.
Hey, you! I want you!
All right, go.
Put him up! Reach! Bluffing, huh? And don't try any tricks. If you don't
And
want a
Weekend
doctor
at
working
Bernie's
on what I leave
continues.
intact.
You'll hear about this when I see my mouthpiece. I'm an innocent man.
Innocent of what?
Innocent of what I done. Or I mean, I'm innocent.
You're wanted for stealing Mr. Cameron's limousine.
Oh, me?
If you didn't steal it, what are you doing with it?
What am I doing with it? Why, have I got it?
You left it back there in the garage.
Ah, you're crazy. I left my car out at the gate.
At the gate, huh?
Yes.
What do you call yourself?
Red Egan.
Well, Red Egan, come along. I'll soon find out about that. You get along to the gates. And don't try any tricks, because I'm going to be right behind you.
We made it. I know I shouldn't be enjoying this, but I am.
It's all right when you get a lucky break like that. You wouldn't be feeling so happy if we'd been caught.
I know.
So let's not rejoice too soon. We're not out of this yet.
Is that your car?
You won't believe me. Ask the old guy that's sitting in it.
Say, you, do you know this man?
Sure I know him. He's a pal of mine. What's he done?
I'm told he stole a limousine.
Big black one. License M812124.
Yeah, what about it?
Went shooting out that way about 5 minutes ago.
What? Which way?
Hey, come back here, you big lug, and take these things off. What do you think I am?
That young fella and that girl told me that...
Hey, they were the ones in the car.
If I get my hands on them...
He couldn't get his hands on an elephant. Listen, you wait here for Handsome. Tell him I'll phone him when I find out where I can connect with him. Okay.
It's like a terrible yet exciting kind of tag.
Played for pretty high stakes. I think for the time being, you better keep your mind on your driving.
Oh, that officer couldn't possibly overtake us now. We had too big a start.
She's getting cocky now. That'll be her downfall.
Get going. Our friend the officer struck our trail.
Oh, dear, what a nuisance he is.
He's gaining.
I can't go any faster.
Well, zigzag. He's going to start to shoot.
Uh-oh, hit something. Oh no. Don't hit the doggy. I mean, hit the kid, that's fine. Just don't hit the dog.
Stop! Follow that limousine.
Keep going. I think we've ducked him again.
Hooray!
He could have, but that would have been no fun.
Why is it making that funny noise?
Sounds to me as if we're running out of gas. Luck's still with us. There's a gas station down the hill.
Put her in neutral and
We can
coast
make that
on
easy.
down. Well, get out and push, because the dead guy ain't going to.
I'll give it a shove and we can coast down.
Need any help?
No, you just steer. Are the brakes off?
No.
Well, put them off. Or put them on again. You'll have to come out and push too. We can manage, I think.
But if she comes out, then that means the brake will be off, or the brake is on when she's not in it, and either way, you're not going to be able to push the car.
Look! No wonder the gas ran out. That awful cop put a bullet in our tank. Now we'll have to abandon it. No use to get gas now. The tank won't hold it.
I believe it would if we could get a cork to fit that hole.
A cork?
Well, come on, we're wasting time. And don't push from there. If it goes back, it'll go over you.
Oh, I never thought of that.
Now push.
There we go. All right, hop in.
Run into the barn.
Howdy, miss. Hello, friend. What do you have? Gas, air, or water?
Gas.
All right.
And a cork. You need a cork.
How many gallons you want?
Oh, fill her up.
Fill her up right up the top?
Right up the top.
Yes, sir.
Oh, but we'll need a cork first.
Eh? A cork?
Yes, you see, we got a hole in the tank. We backed into a fence with fancy spikes on it.
Oh, reckless driving.
Yeah.
Hi, George, you young fellas are always in a hurry.
Yeah.
Well, sir, by jingo. Looks exactly like a bullet hole to me.
A bullet hole? What absolute nonsense. Why, what do you mean?
What's the matter, Letty? Can't you take a joke? You don't look much like gangsters to me. No, sir. You look more like honeymooners. I don't expect to find machine guns or dead bodies in your car, now do I?
Oh, no.
Well, there's no machine guns.
So you want a cork, do you?
If you don't mind.
Yeah, I'll get you one. 8, 1, 2, 1, 2, 4. 8, 1, 2, 1, 2, 4. 8, 1, 2, 1, 2, 4. And 8, 1, 2, 1, 2, 4. Hello, operator. Give me a policeman.
Do you think he suspects anything?
I don't know.
Huh? I want a policeman. Hello. Hello there. Say, what's the matter? All you policemen thief? Say, look at here. I think I got a hold of them gangsters in that car you warned us about. Yes, that car, number M9881, gosh darn it. Oh, shucks. Well, hold on, I'll get another look at it. Now look here, young fella, don't you pull no gun on me.
Now tell me, what's the idea of trying to call the police?
Well, I'll tell you why. We got a warning over the telephone to watch out for a car at all gas stations, number 98, well, I don't remember the number, but I know it's your car. And I'm not going to protect you. Gosh darn it, why should I? Don't know you, never heard of you, never seen you before in my life. I'm a law-abiding citizen, and I'm going to do my duty.
That's right. But if you're not able to call the police, they can't blame you, can they?
Well, who's not able? Why, down there.
Now, relax.
Oh, gosh darn my... Hey, don't hog-tie me, young fella. You'll have the law on you for this. You see me, help! Help! Hey, officers! Police! Gosh darn it, I'm gonna get a hold of the governor of the state of Pennsylvania. You're certainly gonna pay for this.
Now it's become a bondage film. They all become bondage films at some point, I think.
I had stuff for gasoline, madam.
Rank negligence, that's what it is. You should have seen to it before we started. You know I don't like sitting in a smelly gas station while you fill the tank.
I'm sorry, madam. I'll be as quick as I can.
You'd better be.
Sorry, but I'll see you.
Yeah, he was pretty cool.
You saw yourself with the reflection that you were martyred to duty.
You're gonna pay for it, John.
What?
You think you're gonna...
Shut up!
Hello? Anyone above?
Hello.
Hello, looking for something?
You don't run this place, do you?
Who, me? No, I promised to keep an eye on it till he gets back.
Yes, sir. Where'd he go?
Well, he went down that way, he said, to look at a car that's in trouble. He's only been gone a couple of minutes. You can probably catch him if you hurry.
Well, maybe I better do that. My madam doesn't like waiting.
No.
He went this way, you say?
That way.
Yes,
You'll see him somewhere around the next turn.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I beg your pardon, but your chauffeur has gone to look for the man that runs this place, and I thought maybe while you're waiting, you might like a cup of tea.
Tea? Idea's good. The tea probably terrible. Still, it's something to do.
There we are.
And now we're going to steal your car, lady.
If the lady that's with me won't join us, she's probably bored with waiting, too. Pardon me just a moment.
Do.
Come and have tea with this lady. There's nobody to wait on you, so you'll have to find it yourself. Now, be charming and keep her interested. Understand?
I think so. But where's the little man?
I'll explain later.
The little man has wandered off.
What fun. I love things to happen unexpectedly like this, don't you?
When they're pleasant.
Well, the tea may not be perfect, but at least we can make it ourselves. That's a comfort. And I'm pretty good at making tea.
Well, that's something.
Wouldn't it be fun to own this place and meet all the strange people who stop here day after day?
Most of them would be very ordinary and blasted dull.
I suppose so. But some would be interesting. One could speculate on where they were going and what their relationships were to one another. I always do that in buses and trains. Don't you?
Yes. But I thought it was my own private game. I didn't know anybody else did it.
I should think all lonely people do it. I mean people whose lives aren't very full and who haven't very interesting affairs of their own to think of.
Isn't your life very full? It should be. Mine was when I was young and pretty like you.
Sugar?
Thanks. Maybe you don't think I was young and pretty. You ought to have seen me before the war. And please don't say what war.
I wouldn't be so rude.
No, I suppose not.
Didn't you find him?
No, I walked all over the place. I couldn't find any sign of a car in trouble.
Well, that's funny. Well, anyway, I took the liberty of filling both cars while you were gone.
Oh, did you?
Yes, your mistress, she's anxious to get going. She had some tea, but she's restless.
Thanks. How much you put in her? The car, I mean.
20 gallons. You can leave the money on the counter inside.
All ready, madam?
So soon? You've been quick, Mason. You'll telephone and come and see me.
I will.
And bring this young man with you. He's a reckless look that intrigues me. I always had a weakness for dangerous men.
Thanks, if that's a compliment.
Of course it's a compliment. I wouldn't have come in here at all if I hadn't thought you were going to give me knockout drops and rob me. But I'm not sorry I came. Goodbye.
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 Just a minute.
Is that where the little man is?
I hope so. Come on, no use tempting Providence by hanging around here.
Yeah, those shoulders really are unreal. Oh, there goes the license plate that you're looking for.
Stop that fool's arms. What does this mean? What the devil do you think you're doing firing at me, you blasted fool? Do you want to give me a heart attack? Come back here, you blundering calf. Where are you?
Get back here, I'm not done yelling
What
at
are you
you.
doing in that car?
Why shouldn't I mean it's mine?
According to information received by us, this car belongs to Mr. Lawrence Cameron, and it was stolen.
What's that? Are you accusing me of stealing my own car?
Are you Mr. Cameron?
Do I look like Mr. Cameron, you blithering idiot?
I never saw Mr. Cameron. All I know is this. He reported the loss of his car, and the last time I saw it, there was a young fella and a girl in it. Where are they now?
Perhaps you think I murdered them.
Maybe you did.
Oh!
And maybe you switched cars with them to throw me off the scent.
Oh!
There's that young fellow and the girl at the gas station, madam. They have a car quite like this.
How clever of you to think of that, Mason. But their car was a Stevens Knight.
The car that was stolen was a Stevens Knight.
Then why'd you stop me? This car isn't a Stevens Knight, is it?
No, but
Don't dither. Haven't you got the license number of the stolen car?
I have. M812124.
Well, then, does that number look anything like mine?
It's identical.
What?
That's why he sent me on that wild goose chase. He wanted to switch the license plate when I was gone. And that's why he gave you the key, madam.
What was the license number on this car before they switched?
You can't remember, can you, Mason?
No, madam.
Neither can I.
Where do you claim the plates were switched on you, ma'am?
On the turnpike, 5 miles back. But if you think those young miscreants are still waiting for you there, you poor specimen, you do them less than justice. You can tell my man to drive on.
Go ahead.
I'm surprised she didn't whack him with her walking stick.
The old image is Mrs. Jefferson Breckenbridge. Isn't she a Crocker? She's related to half of Who's Who. She's worth millions. Our license number was T563976.
All cars, attention, Highway Patrol. Direction on stolen cars. Cars have changed license number to
Stock photo to the rescue again.
What did we come in here for?
It's safer.
Where are we? What place is this?
A crib I've had my eye on for a long time.
A crib?
Yeah, it ought to be easy to crack. The family's away and there's no watchman. Now, we can use it for a hideaway for a couple of hours and clean out the place. Oh, there ought to be plenty of swag. Unless they're four-flushers and living beyond their means.
You mean you're planning to rob this house?
Why not?
Oh, I don't want to be a thief. Not really.
But you are already. You stole this car, didn't you?
Yes, but that awful man frightened me into it.
You're going to have a swell time convincing the cops of that if they nab you with it.
They won't. They mustn't. We must get it back to his rightful owner as soon as it's safe.
With the corpse still in it.
Oh, I don't know what to do about him. It.
Well, we might leave it here for the family to find when they come back.
That's an idea. And as soon as we're safe, send a mysterious message to the police.
It's a pity you're losing interest in a life of crime. You certainly
Leave
get
him there,
ideas.
put him in a chair, make him comfy, offer him some
Do a
tea.
little belated investigating. Now, you stay where you are for a minute. Looks like a tough one. Big gangster, I'd say, offhand.
One bullet wound and a peach of a shot. He didn't bleed much.
Don't.
I just thought maybe you'd like to know the car wasn't all messed up. There's nothing in his pockets, but he's got an overcoat over him that seems to be full of incriminating evidence. I think I'll take it in with us and examine it later.
You're not really going to break into the house.
Why, of course. No use sitting here for several hours or trespassing anyway. May as well go a step further and do a bit of breaking and entering.
Oh, don't. Please don't.
Now, don't be silly. You're cold. I can see you shivering.
It's fright.
I thought you were enjoying the thrill and danger and excitement of a life of crime.
Not now it's dark.
Well, you trust me. I'll see you through.
Well, I suppose I'll have to. If you go, I suppose I'll have to go, too. I can't stay here alone with a corpse. Wait!
Don't make so much unnecessary noise. Now, follow me.
Suppose someone's here.
There's no lights. Besides, I checked up on that.
Suppose they're a burglar alarm.
I put them out of commission a week ago when I cased the joint. It was too near dawn to go over the place that night.
Are you going in the front door?
It's the simplest way and the quietest. Besides, the other doors might be barred from inside. And the windows, well, I hate to mess about breaking glass.
Now, follow me. It's a jolly little place, isn't it?
Oh, I wish I were home with Granny.
Granny? I haven't heard of her before.
I haven't thought of her for hours.
Is she a young granny or an old granny? A cocktail granny or a fireside knitting granny?
A fireside knitting Granny. Terribly good.
Well, well, it's lucky for you she can't see you now.
It is. Or the trustees at my school.
I think we better slip into the back of the house. It's hidden from view by the trees, and no one can see it there.
Oh, dear, is that safe?
Quite safe. They can't be seen unless someone comes snooping around, and no one's likely to do that.
What a heavenly kitchen.
Not bad. Awfully glad you like it. Oh, I'll have a fire going in a minute, and we'll be beautifully snug.
Well, as long as we're
you
here,
sure the
and
family's
we
away?
may as well
I'm
just
certain why.
fix ourselves a meal.
Nothing's been put away properly.
Oh, the servants of the rich are very careless. They save themselves as much bother as they can.
I hope they were careless enough to leave coffee and things like that. Oh, they have. And biscuits and jam and all kinds of canned and bottled things. Maybe they've even left food in the icebox.
Well, but we can't use any of those things. That would be stealing.
I know. We can find out whose house this is and leave some money in an envelope to pay for everything. Oh!
Well, what is it?
Butter, eggs, cream.
Well, why not?
Don't you see?
Oh my God, there's
I don't
butter.
believe the family's gone away at all.
But I tell you, I'm certain.
Well, when are they supposed to have gone?
Days ago.
But these things are fresh. They can't have been here for days.
At that temperature? Of course.
I think he's setting you up. Don't listen to him when he tries to get you to go to bed.
I have a creepy feeling we're going to be unpleasantly surprised here at any moment.
It's nerves, my lass. You better watch them. No really successful crook can afford to have them. Besides, who'd know we were here?
Hey, Handsome, come here. Is that the bus up there?
Say, it looks like it to me, Red.
Come on.
Not hot water. Cold if you want to make good coffee.
But I've got the kettle boiling. What am I going to use all this nice hot water for?
Well, you might boil a couple of eggs.
That's an idea.
Oh, they're around here someplace. Probably inside. They must have Slick's coat with them, too. Smoky Joe's, exactly as we left them, but the coat's gone. Shall we go in and get it? No. We'll have them to bring it out to us. Certainly we're going in to get it. Come on.
You've awfully superior manners for a crook.
I know. You see, I'm quite unique in my line and practically at the head of my profession. People trust me instinctively, and that's a great advantage.
Yes, I can see that. You must have had quite a good education.
I served a term at Yale. You see, I'm the black sheep of a very distinguished family. I know that's hard to believe, but then I'm not the only crook in the social register. And some had big companies on Wall Street.
I'll take care of the day.
At least we're finally getting some action.
I'm burned! Get me a doctor! I'm burned!
That kettle of water will use something.
Anne, are you hurt?
Just sprinkle hot water on him.
They are.
I think you're right. This one, anyway.
He deserves all he got. If it hadn't been for him, I wouldn't be here in all this mess.
Well, I can't hold that against him. Say, he must be pretty badly burned. We ought to do something about him, I suppose.
Of course. Melted butter. I think we just put this lump on him, it'll melt.
I'll bet on it. Say, he'll be quite a tasty dish when you finish with him. How about a little parsley?
It's a mercy you hit him when you did. Can't feel a thing.
Say, what happened to the other one? I might as well put him out of his misery, too.
Oh, he had to leave in a hurry. Had something to attend to that wouldn't wait.
I think I'll have a look around for him. And I'll just take this along in case.
Well, my high-handed young bandit, we meet again.
Fortunately for me, it seems.
What are you doing with that one, miss?
Buttering him. He got burned.
These accidents will happen if people aren't careful. I see the one in the car out there got killed.
Yes, but we didn't do that.
He's in your car, you know. Did someone leave him there by mistake?
I don't know how he got there.
It's
you
not
see,
my
it is
car.
It's registered in the name of Cameron.
Yes, but
And your name's Cameron, isn't it?
I might as well own up. I'm Lawrence Cameron, and it is my car.
your car. Then you killed it.
No, the car was stolen early today. That's why I hailed you when I recognized it. But the body was placed in it after it was stolen.
But how did you know his name was Cameron?
I guessed it might be. You see, you didn't look to me like ordinary thieves. So I traced the license number on the car and came along here to find out.
But why here?
Because he lives here.
Then you're not a crook at all. And we didn't really break in here.
No, I just seized the opportunity to prove to you there's nothing in a life of crime. I knew the servants were away, you see, and we had to wait and hide someplace till it was dark enough to hide that body. No, I'm not keen to have it found in my car.
Of course not. The police are such busybodies and ask so many foolish questions. But if that car was stolen, where did you get it, my child?
In the city. It was parked near the curb, and he frightened me, so I jumped into it and drove away.
And he and his pal have evidently been on our tracks all day.
Then my hunch was right. I knew you wouldn't change those license plates unless you were in serious trouble. And there's nothing I like so much as meddling in other people's affairs. Coffee ice now?
Yes.
Let's have it. Then we'll bundle these ruffians in with the corpse, drive the car back to where this child found it, and let the clever police discover it.
No noise now. And either perpendicular or horizontal.
You wouldn't dare to shoot right here in the public street.
Come on, start stepping.
I guess we better. They couldn't very well miss at this range.
Come on, get going. All right, here you go.
They got him, huh? We're red and handsome.
We ain't seen him. These birds drove up in the car and parked it out front. They're just going to make a break when I grabbed them.
My coat still in the car?
We didn't stop to look.
It's there, all right.
Oh, so you noticed it.
Yes, and what was under it?
So you noticed that too, huh? Sit down. I'd like to have a little talk with you.
But suppose that we don't want to talk. We're awfully careful about casual acquaintances.
Tough guy, huh? Hard. The kind that goes out laughing.
I'll bet you're not. You're the kind they have to dope and put a hood on, or they drag him screaming to the chair.
Steve, are you sure these two are trying to make a getaway when you grabbed them?
Sure. Why?
Well, they're so cocky, you'd think they were expecting the Marines.
So this is the hideout of the gang.
What the? Who in the name of...
Well, if you like, you can't shock me. I know all the worst words in the dictionary, so that I resist the temptation to use them.
Who are you, anyway?
I'm Mrs. Jefferson Breckenbridge, mother of Judge Breckenbridge and grandmother of the present district attorney.
Holy Moses.
How did you get in here, anyway?
Broke the glass on the front door, put my hand through and opened it. I suppose technically you've a case against me, if you feel disposed to press it.
Well, why did you want to get in here? Will you tell me that?
Certainly. I saw your two henchmen force my young friends to come in here. I was in the car behind, waiting to pick them up. Stupid of them not to make sure they were unobserved, because I was free to send my chauffeur at once for the police.
What?
Figured I could easily hold your attention till they got here. And here they are.
No use shooting, boys. The house is full of cops and there's a cordon around the whole block.
We've got you two to thank for this. I don't know which is the worst, the young one or the old one.
Get them out, Sergeant.
I saw you following me. I knew Masons have no difficulty in finding you.
You're a holy terror, ma'am. With all due respect.
Granny! Granny, I'm home, darling. Come and see the man I brought back with me.
Hello,
I'm going to
Albel.
marry him.
I'm glad you could join us.
So that's what you went
Unfortunately,
after,
the movie
it?
is almost
you
over.
And Delilah.
Delilah? Is she back too?
How are you doing, Albel? Well, at least the bird returned and didn't die. So there was that. That was one hell of a first date. Yes, let's all clap for the movie. It wasn't a bad movie. It was a movie. We watched Half a Sinner. It wasn't as... It started off pretty heavy on the fetishes, gonna be honest. We had two teachers talking about how they like the naughty ones because the good ones aren't imaginative enough. And we had some car theft, we had some bondage, we had a dead body. Yeah, it wasn't a super great movie. It wasn't bad enough to have a lot to talk about, but it wasn't a bad movie. You're just here for the fire noises, aren't you, Albel? I know. It's okay. I'm kidding. So, should we continue on with our story, In Search of the Unknown? Or should I read some of My Immortal? Oh yeah, I'm gonna read. I'm gonna do some reading. Such decisions. I'm going to take a quick break and grab the charger for the phone, because the phone is what I use to read from. Yeah, my Immortal is something that, if you want to do it well, probably requires a lot of energy. I will read a couple of chapters of our comfy story then, In Search of the Unknown, as soon as I get back, so shouldn't be too long of a break. So go grab a drink, grab a snack. I'm gonna go look for the charger to my phone, and we will continue on. And again, thanks for joining me tonight. That was an interesting movie. I will be right back.
Keeps burning. We're inviting the night.
Alright, I am back. Hope you are all ready and comfy for some more reading. I should change the title of the stream. Would be nice. Alright, we have the correct title now. Yeah, if there's anything you want to ask me about the stream setup, puppy, you're always welcome to DM me. I am always happy to talk about it. Alright, we've got our fireplace going, or our fire going. Let us begin with what I think is chapter 25. Yeah, I hope you feel better soon. Alright, here we go. It was on Sunday when I awoke to the realization that I had quitted civilization and was afloat on an unfamiliar body of water in an open boat containing one light steel cage, one rifle and ammunition, one stenographer, 3 ounces rhosium oxide, 1 hound dog, 2 valises. A playful wave slopped over the bow and I lost count, but the pretty stenographer made the inventory, while I resumed the oars, and the dog punctured the primeval silence with staccato yelps. A few minutes later, everything and everybody was accounted for. The sky was blue and the palms waved, and several species of dicky birds tuned up as I pulled with powerful strokes out into the sunny waters of Little Sprite Lake, now within a few miles of my journey's end. From ponds hidden in the marshes, herons rose in lazily laborious flight, flapping low across the water. High in the cypress, yellow-eyed ospreys bent crested heads to watch our progress. Sun-baked alligators, lying heavily in the shoreward sedge, slid open, glassy-eyed as we passed. Even the gators make eyes at you, I said, resting on my oars. We were on terms of badinage. Who was it who shed crocodile tears at the prospect of shipping me north? She inquired. Speaking of tears, I observed, somebody is likely to shed a number when Professor Farrago is picked up. Pooh, she said, and snapped her pretty suntanned fingers, and I resumed the oars in time to avoid shipwreck on a large mud bar. She reclined in the stern, serenely occupied with the view, now and then caressing the discouraged dog, now and then patting her hair where the wind had loosed a bright strand. If Professor Farrago didn't expect a woman stenographer, she said abruptly, why did he instruct you to bring a complete outfit of women's clothing? I don't know, I said tartly. But you bought them. Are they for a young woman or an old woman? I don't know. I sent a messenger to a department store. I don't know what he bought. Didn't you look them over? No. Why? I should have been no wiser. I fancy they're all right, because the bill was $1,800. The pretty stenographer sat up abruptly. Is that much? I asked uneasily. I've always heard women's clothing was expensive. Wasn't it enough? I told the boy to order the best. Professor Farrago always requires the very best scientific instruments, and I listed the clothing as scientific accessories, that being the object of this expedition. What are you laughing at? When it pleased her to recover her gravity, she announced her desire to inspect and repack the clothing, but I refused. They're for Professor Farrago, I said. I don't know what he wants of them. I don't suppose he intends to wear 'em and caper about the jungle, but they're his. I got them because he told me to. I bought a cage, too, to fit myself, but I don't suppose he needs to put me in it. Perhaps, I added, he may invite you into it. Let me refold the gowns, she pleaded, persuasively. What does a clumsy man know about packing such clothing as that? If you don't, they'll be ruined. It's a shame to drag those boxes about through mud and water. So we made a landing and lifted out and unlocked the boxes. All I could see inside were mounds of lace and ribbons, and with a vague idea that Miss Barrison needed no assistance, I returned to the boat and sat down to smoke until she was ready. When she summoned me, her face was flushed and her eyes bright. Those are certainly the most beautiful things, she said softly. Why, it is like a bride's trousseau, absolutely complete, all except the bridal gown. Isn't there a dress there? I exclaimed in alarm. No, not a day dress. Night dresses? I shrieked. He doesn't want women's night dresses. He's a bachelor. Good heavens, I've done it this time. But who is to wear them? She asked. How do I know? I don't know anything. I can only presume that he doesn't intend to open a department store in the Everglades. And if any lady is to wear garments in this vicinity, I assume that those garments are to be anything except diaphanous. Please take your seat in the boat, Miss Barrison. I want to row and think. I had had my fill of exercise and thought when, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Miss Barrison directed my attention to a point of palms jutting out into the water about a mile to the southward. That's Farrago, I exclaimed, catching sight of a United States flag floating majestically from a bamboo pole. Give me the megaphone, if you please. She handed me the instrument. I hailed the shore, and presently a man appeared under the palms at the water's edge. Hello, I roared, trying to inject cheerfulness into the hollow bellow. How are you, Professor? The answer came distinctly across the water. Who is that with you? My lips were buried in the megaphone. I strove to speak. I only produced a ghastly chuckling sound. Of course you expect to tell the truth, observed the pretty stenographer quietly. I removed my lips from the megaphone and looked around at her. She returned my gaze with a disturbing smile. I want to mitigate the blow, I said hoarsely. Tell me how. I'm sure I don't know, she said sweetly. Well, I do, I fairly barked and seized the megaphone again. I set it to my lips and roared, My fiancé! Good gracious, exclaimed Miss Barrison in consternation. I thought you were going to tell him the truth. Don't do that or you'll upset us, I snapped. I'm telling the truth. I've engaged myself to you. I did it mentally before I bellowed. But you know as well as I do what engagements mean, I said, picking up the oars and digging them deep in the blue water. She assented uncertainly. A few minutes more of vigorous rowing brought us to a muddy landing under a cluster of tall palmettos, where a gasoline launch lay. Professor Farrago came down to the shore as I landed, and I walked ahead to meet him. He was the maddest man I ever saw. But I was his match, for I was desperate. What the devil, he began under his breath. Nonsense, I said deliberately. An engaged woman is practically married already, because marriages are made in heaven. Good Lord, he gasped. Are you mad, Gilland? I sent for a stenographer. Miss Barrison is a stenographer, I said calmly, and before he could recover I had presented him and left them face to face, washing my hands of the whole affair. Unloading the boat and carrying the luggage up under the palms, I heard her saying, No, I am not in the least afraid of snakes, and I am quite ready to begin my duties. And he, Mr. Gilland is a young man who, lacks practical experience. And she, Mr. Gilland has been most thoughtful for my comfort. The journey has been perfectly heavenly. And he clumsily, the celestial aspect of your journey has doubtless been colored by the prospect of your approaching nuptials, she hastily. Oh, I do not think so, Professor. Idiot, I muttered, dragging the dog to the shore, where his yelps brought the professor hurrying. Is that the dog? He inquired, adjusting his spectacles. That's the dog, I said. He's full of points, you see. Oh, mused the professor. I thought he was full of... He hesitated, inspecting the animal who, nose to the ground, stood investigating a smell of some sort. See, I said with enthusiasm. He's already found a scent. He's trailing it already. Now he's rolling on it. He's rolling on one of our concentrated food lozenges, said the professor dryly. Tie him up, Mr. Gilland, and ask Miss Gilland to come to camp. Your room is ready. Rooms, I corrected. She isn't Mrs. Gilland yet, I added with a forced smile. But you're practically married, observed the professor, as you pointed out to me. And if she's practically Mrs. Gilland, why not say so? Don't, all the same, I snarled. But marriages are made in... I cast a desperate eye upon him. From that moment, whenever we were alone together, he made a target of me. I never had supposed him humorously vindictive. He was, and his apparently innocent mistakes almost turned my hair gray. But to Miss Barrison he was kind and courteous, and for a time over-serious. Observing him, I could never detect the slightest symptom of dislike for her sex, a failing which common rumor had always credited him with to the verge of absolute rudeness. On the contrary, it was perfectly plain to anybody that he liked her. There was in his manner towards her a mixture of business formality and the deferential attitude of a gentleman. We were seated, just before sunset, outside of the hut built of palmetto logs, when Professor Farragut, addressing us both, began the explanation of our future duties. Miss Barrison, it appeared, was to note everything said by himself, making several shorthand copies by evening. In other words, she was to report every scrap of conversation she heard while in the Everglades. And she nodded intelligently as he finished, and drew pad and pencil from the pocket of her walking skirt, jotting down his instructions as a beginning. I could see that he was pleased. The reason I do this, he said, is because I do not wish to hide anything that transpires while we are on this expedition. Only the most scrupulously minute record can satisfy me. No details are too small to merit record. I demand and I court from my fellow scientists and from the public the fullest investigations. He smiled slightly, turning towards me. You know, Mr. Gilland, how dangerous to the reputation of a scientific man is any line of investigation into the unusual. If a man once is even suspected of charlatanism, of sensationalism, of turning his attention to any phenomena not strictly within the proper pale of scientific investigation, that man is doomed to ridicule. His profession disowns him. He becomes a man without honor, without authority. Is it not so? Yes, I said. Therefore, he resumed thoughtfully, as I do most firmly believe in the course I am now pursuing, whether I succeed or fail, I desire a true and minute record made, hiding nothing of what may be said or done. A stenographer alone can give this to the world, while I can only supplement it with a description of events, if I live to transcribe them. Sunk in profound reverie, he sat there, silent under the great smooth palm tree, a venerable figure in his yellow dressing gown and carpet slippers. Seated side by side, we waited, a trifle awed. I could hear the soft breathing of the pretty stenographer beside me. First of all, said Professor Farragut, looking up, I must be able to trust those who are here to aid me. I will be faithful, said the girl in a low voice. I do not doubt you, my child, he said, nor you, Gilland, and so I am going to tell you this much now. More, I hope, later. And he sat up straight, lifting an impressive forefinger. Mr. Rowan, lately an officer of our Coast Survey, wrote me a letter from the Holland House in New York. A letter so strange that, on reading it, I immediately repaired to his hotel, where for hours we talked together. The result of that conference is this expedition. I have now been here 2 months, and I am satisfied of certain facts. First, there do exist in this unexplored wilderness certain forms of life which are solid and palpable, but transparent and practically invisible. Second, these living creatures belong to the animal kingdom, are warm-blooded vertebrates, possess powers of locomotion, but whether that or flight I am not certain. Third, they seem to possess such senses as we enjoy: smell, touch, sight, hearing, and no doubt the sense of taste. Fourth, their skin is smooth to the touch, and the temperature of the epidermis appears to approximate that of a normal human being. Fifth and last, whether bipeds or quadrupeds I do not know, though all evidence appears to confirm my theory that they walk erect. One pair of their limbs appear to terminate in a sort of foot-like, a delicately shaped human foot, except that there appear to be no toes. The other pair of limbs terminate in something that formed a single instance. I experienced seemed to resemble soft but firm antennae, or perhaps digitated, palpable feelers, I blurted out. I don't know, but I think so. Once, when I was standing in the forest, perfectly aware that creatures I could not see had stealthily surrounded me, the tension was brought to a crisis when over my face, from cheek to chin, stole a soft something, brushing the skin as delicately as a child's finger might brush it. Good Lord, I breathed. A careworn smile crept into his eyes. A test for nerves, you think, Mr. Gilland? I agree with you. Nobody fears what anybody can see. There came the slightest movement beside me. Are you trembling? I asked, turning. I was writing, she replied steadily. Did my elbow touch you? By the way, said Professor Farrago, I fear I forgot to congratulate you upon your choice of a stenographer, Mr. Gilland. A rosy light stole over her pale face. Am I to record that too? She asked, raising her blue eyes. Certainly, he replied gravely. But, Professor, I began, a prey to increasing excitement, do you propose to attempt to capture one of these animals? That is what the cage is for, he said. I supposed you had guessed that. I had, murmured the pretty stenographer. I do not doubt it, said Professor Farrago gravely. What are the chemicals for, and the tank and hose attachment? Think, Mr. Gilland. I can't. I'm almost stunned by what you tell me. He laughed. The rhodium oxide and salts of strontium are to be dumped into the tank together. They'll effervesce, of course. Of course, I muttered. And I can throw a rose-colored spray over any object by the hose attachment, can't I? Yes. Well, I tried it on a transparent jellyfish, and it became perfectly visible and of a beautiful rose color. And I tried it on rock crystal, and on glass, and on pure gelatin, and all became suffused with a delicate pink glow, which lasted for hours or minutes according to the substance. Now you understand, don't you? Yes. You want to see what sort of creature you have to deal with. Exactly. So when I've trapped it, I'm going to spray it. He turned half humorously towards the stenographer. I fancy you understood long before Mr. Gilland did. I don't think so, she said with a sidelong lifting of her heavy lashes, and I caught the color of her eyes for a second. You see how Miss Barrison spares your feelings, observed Professor Farrago dryly. She owes you little gratitude for bringing her here, yet she proves a generous victim. Oh, I'm very grateful for this rarest of chances, she said shyly. To be among the first in the world to discover such wonders ought to make me very grateful to the man who gave me the opportunity. Do you mean Mr. Gilland? Asked the professor, laughing. I had never before seen Professor Farrago laugh such a carefree laugh. I had never suspected him of harboring even an embryo of the social graces. Dry as dust, sapless as steel, precise as the magnetic needle, he had hitherto been to me the mummified embodiment of science militant. Now, in the guise of a perfectly human and genial old gentleman, I scarcely recognized my superior of the Bronx Park Society. And as a woman-hater, he was a miserable failure. Heavens, I thought to myself. Am I becoming jealous of my revered professor's social success with a stray stenographer? I felt mean, and I probably looked it. And I was glad that telepathy did not permit Miss Barrison to record my secret and unworthy ruminations. The professor was saying, "These transparent creatures break off berries and fruits and branches. I have seen a flower, too, plucked from its stem by invisible digits and borne swiftly through the forest. Only the flower visible, apparently speeding through the air and out of sight among the thickets. I have found the footprints that I described to you, usually on the edge of a stream or in the soft loam along some forest lake or lost lagoon. Again and again I have been conscious in the forest that unseen eyes were fixed on me, that unseen shapes were following me. Never but that one time did these invisible creatures close in around me and venture to touch me. They may be weak, their structure may be frail, and they may be incapable of violence or harm, but the depth of the footprints indicates a weight of at least 130 pounds, and it certainly requires some muscular strength to break off a branch of wild guavas." He bent his noble head, thoughtfully regarding the design of his slippers. "What was the rifle for?" I asked. "Defense, not aggression," he said simply. "And the camera?" "A camera record is necessary in these days of bad artists." I hesitated, glancing at Miss Barrison. She was still writing, her pretty head bent over the pad in her lap. "And the clothing?" I asked carelessly. "Did you get it?" he demanded. "Of course." I glanced at Miss Barrison. "There's no use writing down everything, is there?" "Everything must be recorded," said Professor Farrago inflexibly. "What clothing did you buy?" "I forgot the gown," I said, getting red about the ears. "Forgot the gown?" he repeated. "Yes. One kind of gown. The day kind. I got the other kind." He was annoyed. So was I. After a moment he got up and, crossing to the log cabin, opened one of the boxes of apparel. "Is it what you wanted?" I inquired. "Yes, I presume so," he replied, visibly perplexed. "It's the best we had," said I. "That's quite right," he said musingly. "We use only the best of everything at Bronx Park. It is traditional with us, you know." Curiosity pushed me. "Well, what on earth is it for?" I broke out. He looked at me gravely over the tops of his spectacles. A striking and inspiring figure in his yellow flannel dressing gown and slippers. "I shall tell you some day, perhaps," he said mildly. "Good night, Miss Barrison. Good night, Mr. Gilland. You will find extra blankets on your bunk." "What?" I cried. "Bunks," he said, and shut the door. Chapter 26. There is something weird about this whole proceeding, I observed to the pretty stenographer next morning. "These pies will be weird if you don't stop talking to me," she said, opening the doors of Professor Farrago's portable camping oven and peeping in at the fragrant pastry. The professor had gone off somewhere into the woods early that morning. As he was not in the habit of talking to himself, the services of Miss Barrison were not required. Before he started, however, he came to her with a request for a dozen pies, the construction of which she asked if she understood. She had been to cooking school in more prosperous days, and she mentioned it. So at his earnest solicitation she undertook to bake for him 12 apple pies, and she was now attempting it, assisted by advice from me. "Are they burned?" I asked, sniffing the air. No, they are not burned, Mr. Gilland, but my finger is, she retorted, stepping back to examine the damage. I offered sympathy and witch hazel, but she would have none of my offerings, and presently returned to her pies. We can't eat all that pastry, I protested. Professor Farragut said they were not for us to eat, she said, dusting each pie with powdered sugar. Well, what are they for? The dog? Or are they simply objects to art to adorn the shanty? You annoy me, she said. The pies annoy me. Won't you tell me what they're for? I have a pretty fair idea what they're for, she observed, tossing her head. Haven't you? No? What? These pies are for bait. To bait hooks with? I exclaimed. Hooks? No, you silly man. They're for baiting the cage. He means to trap these transparent creatures in a cage baited with pie. She laughed scornfully, inserted the burned tip of her finger in her mouth, and stood looking at me defiantly, like a flushed and bright-eyed schoolgirl. You think you're teasing me, she said, but you do not realize what a singularly slow-minded young man you are. I stopped laughing. How did you come to the conclusion that pies were to be used for such a purpose? I asked. I deduce, she observed with an airy wave of her disengaged hand. Your deductions are weird, like everything else in this vicinity. Pies to catch invisible monsters? Pooh. You're not particularly complimentary, are you? She said. Not particularly, but I could be, with you for my inspiration. I could even be enthusiastic. About my pies? No, about your eyes. You are very frivolous, for a scientist, she said scornfully. Please subdue your enthusiasm and bring me some wood. This fire is almost out. When I had brought the wood, she presented me with a pail of hot water and pointed at the dishes on the breakfast table. Never, I said, revolted. Then I suppose I must do them. She looked pensively at her scorched fingertip, and, pursing her red lips, blew a gentle breath to cool it. I'll do the dishes, I said. Splashing and slushing the cups and saucers about in the hot water, I reflected upon the events of the last few days. The dog, stupefied by unwonted abundance of food, lay in the sunshine, sleeping the sleep of repletion. The pretty stenographer, all rosy from her culinary exertions, was removing the pies and setting them in neat rows to cool. There, she said with a sigh. Now I will dry the dishes for you. You didn't mention the fact, when you engaged me, that I was also expected to do general housework. I didn't engage you, I said maliciously. You engaged me, you know. She regarded me disdainfully, nose up-tilted. How thoroughly disagreeable you can be, she said. Dry your own dishes. I'm going for a stroll. May I join? You may not. I shall go so far that you cannot possibly discover me. I watched her forestward progress. She sauntered for about 30 yards along the lake and presently sat down in plain sight under a huge live oak. A few moments later I had completed my task as general bottle washer, and I cast about for something to occupy me. First I approached and politely caressed the satiated dog. He woke up, regarded me with dully meditated eyes, yawned, and went to sleep again. Never a flop of tail to indicate gratitude for blandishments, never the faintest symptom of canine appreciation. Chilled by my reception, I moused about for a while, poking into boxes and bundles, then raised my head and inspected the landscape. Through the vista of trees, the pink shirtwaist of the pretty stenographer glimmered like a rose blooming in the wilderness. From whatever point I viewed the prospect that pink spot seemed to intrude, I turned my back and examined the jungle, but there it was repeated in 100 pink blossoms among the massive thickets. I looked up into the treetops, where pink mosses spotted the palms. I looked out over the lake, and I saw it in my mind's eye pinker than ever. It was certainly a case of pink eye. I'll go for a stroll too. It's a free country, I muttered. After I had strolled in a complete circle, I found myself within 3 feet of a pink shirtwaist. I beg your pardon, I said. I had no intent. I thought you were never coming, she said amiably. How was your finger? I asked. She held it up. I took it gingerly. It was smooth and faintly rosy at the tip. Does it hurt? I inquired. Dreadfully. Your hands feel so cool. After a silence, she said, Thank you. That has cooled the burning. I am determined, said I, to expel the fire from your finger if it takes hours and hours, and I seated myself with that intention. For a while she talked, making innocent observations concerning the tropical foliage surrounding us. Then silence crept in between us, accentuated by the brooding stillness of the forest. I am afraid your hands are growing tired, she said considerably. I denied it. Through the vista of palms we could see the lake, blue as a violet, sparkling with silvery sunshine. In the intense quiet, the splash of leaping mullets sounded distinctly. Once a tall crane stalked into view among the sedges. Once an unseen alligator shook the silence with his deep, hollow roaring. Then the stillness of the wilderness grew more intense. We had been sitting there for a long while without exchanging a word, dreamily watching the ripple of the azure water, when all at once there came a scurrying patter of feet through the forest, and looking up, I beheld the hound dog, tail between his legs, bearing down on us at lightning speed. I rose instantly. What is the matter with the dog? Cried the British stenographer. Is he going mad, Mr. Gilland? Something has scared him, I exclaimed as the dog, eyes like lighted candles, rushed frantically between my legs and buried its head in Miss Barrison's lap. Poor doggy, she said, smoothing the collapsed pup. Poor little beast. Did anything scare him? Tell Auntie all about it. When a dog flees without yelping, he's a badly frightened creature. I instinctively started back towards the camp once the beast had fled, and before I had taken a dozen steps, Miss Barrison was beside me, carrying the dog in her arms. I've an idea, she said under her breath. What? I asked, keeping my eyes on the camp. It's this. I'll wager that we find those pies gone. Pies gone, I repeated, perplexed. What makes you think they are gone? She exclaimed. Look. I gaped stupidly at the rough pine table where the pies had stood in 3 neat rows of 4 each. And then, in a moment, the purport of this robbery flashed upon my senses. The transparent creatures, I gasped. Hush, she whispered, clinging to the trembling dog in her arms. I listened. I could hear nothing, see nothing, yet slowly I became convinced of the presence of something unseen. Something in the forest close by, watching us out of invisible eyes. A chill, settling upon my spine, crept upward to my scalp, until every separate hair wiggled to the roots. Miss Barrison was pale, but perfectly calm and self-possessed. Let us go indoors, I said as steadily as I could. Very well, she replied. I held the door open. She entered with the dog. I followed, closing and barring the door, and then took my station at the window, rifle in hand. There was not a sound in the forest. Miss Barrison laid the dog on the floor and quietly picked up her pad and pencil. Presently she was deep in a report of the phenomena, her pencil flying, leaf after leaf, and the pad fluttering to the floor. Nor did I at the window change my position of scared alertness, until I was aware of her hand gently touching my elbow to attract my attention, and her soft voice at my ear. You don't suppose by any chance that the dog ate those pies? I collected my tumultuous thoughts and turned to stare at the dog. 12 pies, 12 inches each in diameter, she reflected musingly. 1 dog, 20 inches in diameter. How many times will the pies go into the dog? Let me see. She made a few fingers on her pad, thought a while, produced a tape measure from her pocket, and, kneeling down, measured the dog. No, she said, looking up at me, he couldn't contain them. Inspired by her coolness and perfect composure, I set the rifle in the corner and opened the door. Sunlight fell in bars through the quiet woods. Nothing stirred on land or water save the great yellow-striped butterflies that fluttered and soared and floated above the flowering thickets bordering the jungle. The heat became intense. Miss Barrison went to her room to change her gown for a lighter one. I sat down under a live oak, eyes and ears strained for any sign of our invisible neighbors. When she emerged in the lightest and flimsiest of summer gowns, she brought the camera with her, and for a while we took pictures of each other until we had used up all but one film. Desiring to possess a picture of Miss Barrison and myself seated together, I tied a string to the shutter lever and attached the other end of the string to the dog, who had resumed his interrupted slumbers. At my whistle, he jumped up nervously, snapped the lever, and the picture was taken. With such innocent and harmless pastime, we whiled away the afternoon. She made 12 more apple pies. I mounted guard over them, and we were just beginning to feel a trifle uneasy about Professor Farragut when he appeared, tramping sturdily through the forest, green umbrella and butterfly net under one arm, shotgun and cyanide jar under the other, and his breast all crisscrossed with straps, from which dangled field glasses, collecting boxes, and botanizing tins. An inspiring figure indeed, the embodied symbol of science indomitable, triumphant. We hailed him with three guilty cheers. The dog woke up with a perfunctory bark, the first sound I had heard from him since he yelped his disapproval of me in the lagoon. Miss Barrison produced 3 bowls full of boiling water and dropped 3 pellets of consecrated soup meat into them while I prepared coffee. And in a few moments our simple dinner was ready. The red ants had been dusted from the biscuits, the spider chased off the baked beans, the scorpions shaken from the napkins, and we sat down at the rough improvised table under the palms. The professor gave us a brief but modest account of his short tour of exploration. He had brought back a new species of orchid, several undescribed beetles, and a pocket full of kunti seed. He appeared, however, to be tired and singularly depressed, and presently we learned why. It seemed that he had gone straight to that section of the forest where he had hitherto always found signs of the transparent and invisible creatures which he had determined to capture, and he had not found a single trace of them. "It alarms me," he said gravely. "If they have deserted this region, it might take a lifetime to locate them again in this wilderness." Then, very quickly, sinking her voice indistinctly, as though the unseen might be at our very elbows listening, Miss Barrison recounted the curious adventure which had befallen the dog and the first batch of apple pies. With visible and increasing excitement, the professor listened until the very end. Then he struck the table with clenched fists, a resounding blow which set the concentrated soup dancing in the bowls, and scattered the biscuits and the industrious red ants in every direction. "Eureka!" he whispered. "Miss Barrison, your deduction was not only perfectly reasonable, but brilliant. You are right. The pies are for that very purpose. I conceived the idea when I first came here. Again and again the pies that my guide made out of dried apple disappeared in a most astonishing and mysterious manner when left to cool. At length I determined to watch them every second, and did so. With the result? That late one afternoon I was amazed to see a pie slowly rise from the table and move swiftly away through the air about 4 feet above the ground, finally disappearing into a tangle of jasmine and grapevine. The apparently automatic flight of the pie solved the problem. These transparent creatures cannot resist that delicacy. Therefore I decided to bait the cage for them this very night. Look, what's the matter with that dog?" The dog suddenly bounded into the air, alighted on all fours, eyes, ears, and muzzle concentrated on the point directly behind us. "Good gracious, the pies," faltered Miss Barrison, half rising from her seat, but the dog rushed madly into her skirts, scrambling for protection, and she fell back almost into my arms. Clasping her tightly, I looked over my shoulder. The last pie was snatched from the table before my eyes, and I saw it borne swiftly away by something unseen, straight into the deepening shadows of the forest. The professor was singularly calm, even slightly ironical, as he turned to me, saying, "Perhaps if you relinquish Miss Barrison..." She may be able to free herself from that dog. I did so immediately, and she deposited the cowering dog in my arms. Her face had suddenly become pink. I passed the dog on to Professor Farrago, dumping it viciously into his lap, a proceeding which struck me as resembling a pastime of extreme youth known as Button, Button, Who's Got the Button. The professor examined the animal gravely, feeling its pulse, counting its respiration, and finally inserting a tentative finger in an attempt to examine its tongue. The dog bit him. Ouch. It's a clear case of fright, he said gravely. I wanted a dog to aid me in trailing these remarkable creatures, but I think this dog of yours is useless, Gilland. It's given us warning of the creature's presence twice already, I argued. Poor little thing, said Miss Barrison softly. I don't know why, but I love that dog. He has eyes like yours, Mr. Gilland. Exasperated, I rose from the table. He's got eyes like holes burned in a blanket, I said, and if ever a flicker of intelligence lighted them, I have failed to observe it. The professor regarded me dreamily. We ought to have more pies, he observed. Perhaps if you carried the oven into the shanty. Certainly, said Miss Barrison. We can lock the door while I make 12 more pies. I carried the portable camping oven into the cabin, connected the patent asbestos chimney pipes, and lighted the fire. And in a few minutes Miss Barrison, sleeves rolled up and pink apron pinned under her chin, was busily engaged in rolling pie crust, while Professor Farrago measured out spices and set the dried apples to soak. The swift southern twilight had already veiled the forest as I stepped out of the cabin to smoke a cigar and promenade a bit incognate. The last trace of color lingering in the west faded out as I looked. The gray glimmer deepened into darkness, through which the white lake vapors floated in thin wavering strata across the water. For a while, the frog symphony dominated all other sounds. Then lagoon and forest and cypress branch awoke, and through the steadily sustained tumult of woodland voices I could hear the dry bark of the fox squirrel, the whistle of the raccoon, ducks softly quacking or whimpering as they prepared for sleep among the reeds, the soft booming of bitterns, the clattering gossip of the heronry, the southern whippoorwill's incessant call. At regular intervals, the howling note of a loon heron echoed the strident screech of a crimson-crested crane. The horned owl's savage hunting cry haunted the night, now near, now floating from infinite distances. And after a while I became aware of a nearer sound, low-pitched, but ceaseless, the hum of thousands of lesser living creatures blending to a steady monotone. Then the theatrical moon came up through flimsy draperies of waving Spanish moss and its cobwebs. And far in the wilderness, a cougar fell a-crying and coughing like a little child with a bad cold. I went in after that. Miss Barrison was sitting before the oven, knees gathered in her clasped hands, languidly studying the fire. She looked up as I appeared, opening the oven doors, sniffed the aroma, and resumed her attitude of contented indifference. Where's the professor? I asked. He is retired. He's been talking in his sleep at moments. Better take it down. That's what you're here for, I observed, closing and holding the outside door. Ugh, there's a chill in the air. The dew is pelting down from the pines like a steady fall of rain. You will get fever if you roam about at night, she said. Mercy, your coat is soaking. Sit here by the fire. So I pulled up a bench and sat down beside her like the traditional spider. Miss Muffet, I said, don't let me frighten you away. I was going anyhow. Please don't. Why? She demanded, reseating herself. Because I like to sit beside you, I said truthfully. Your avowal is startling and not to be substantiated by facts, she remarked, resting her chin on one hand and gazing into the fire. You mean because I went for a stroll by moonlight? I did that because you always seem to make fun of me as soon as the professor joins us. Make fun of you? You surely don't expect me to make eyes at you. There was a silence. I toasted my shins thoughtfully. "How is your burned finger?" I asked. She lifted it for my inspection, and I began a protracted examination. "What would you prescribe?" she inquired, with an absent-minded glance at the professor's closed door. "I don't know. Perhaps a slight but firm pressure on the finger trips. You tried that this afternoon." But the dog interrupted us. "Interrupted you? Besides, what?" "I don't think you ought to," she said. Sitting there before the oven, side by side, hand innocently clasped in hand, we heard the drumming of the dew on the roof, the night wind stirring the palms, the muffled snoring of the professor, the faint whisper and crackle of the fire. A single candle burned brightly, piling our shadows together on the wall behind us. Moonlight silvered the windowy panes, over which crawled multitudes of soft-winged moths, attracted by the candle within. "See their tiny eyes glow?" she whispered. "How their wings quiver? And all for a candle flame. Alas, alas, fire is the undoing of us all." She leaned forward, resting as though buried in reverie. After a while, she extended one foot a trifle, and, with the point of her shoe, carefully unlatched the oven door. As it swung outward, a delicious fragrance filled the room. "They're done," she said, withdrawing her hand from mine. "Help me to lift them out." Together we arranged the delicious pastries in rows on the bench to cool. I opened the door for a few minutes, then closed and bolted it again. "Do you suppose those transparent creatures will smell the odor and come around the cabin?" she suggested, wiping her fingers on her handkerchief. I walked to the window uneasily. Outside the pane, the moths crawled. Some brilliant in scarlet and tan colors set with black, some snow white with black tracings on their wings, and bodies peacock blue edged with orange. The scientist in me was aroused. I called her to the window, and she came and leaned against the sill, nose pressed to the glass. "I don't suppose you know that the antennae of that silvery-winged moth are distinctly pectinate," I said. "Of course I do," she said. "I took my degree as D.E. at Barnard College." "What?" I exclaimed in astonishment. "You've been through Barnard? You're a doctor of entomology?" "It was my undoing," she said. "The department was abolished the year I graduated. There was no similar vacancy, even in the Smithsonian." She shrugged her shoulders, eyes fixed on the moths. I had to make my own living. I chose stenography as the quickest road to self-sustenance. She looked up, a flush on her cheeks. "I suppose you took me for an inferior," she said. "But do you suppose I'd flirt with you if I was?" She pressed her face to the pane again, murmuring that exquisite poem of Andrew Lang. "Spooning is innocuous and needn't have a sequel. But recollect, if spoon you must, spoon only with your equal." Standing there, watching the moths, we became rather silent. I don't know why. The fire in the range had gone out. The candle flame, flaring above a saucer of melted wax, sank lower and lower. Suddenly, as though disturbed by something inside, the moths all left the window pane, darting off in the darkness. "That's curious," I said. "What's curious?" she asked, opening her eyes languidly. "Good gracious, was that a bat that peed on the window?" "I saw nothing," I said, disturbed. "Listen." A soft sound against the glass, as though invisible fingers were feeling the pane. A gentle rubbing, then a tap-tap, all but inaudible. "Is it a bird? Can you see?" she whispered. The candle flame behind us flashed and expired. Moonlight flooded the pane. The sounds continued, but there was nothing there. We understood now what it was that so gently rubbed and patted the glass outside. With one accord, we noiselessly gathered up the pies and carried them into my room. Then she walked to the door of her room, turned, held out her hand, and whispered, "Good night. À demain, monsieur," slipped into her room and softly closed the door. And all night long I lay in troubled slumber beside the pies, a rifle resting on the blankets beside me, a revolver under my pillow. And I dreamed of moths with brilliant eyes and vast silvery wings harnessed to a balloon in which Miss Barrison and I sat, arms around each other, eating slice after slice of apple pie. And that is where I think I am going to end it, because I am more tired than I thought I was. And it doesn't do much good. When I have to stop and yawn while I'm reading and I lose my place. So, I am going to end the stream there. We will begin with chapter 27 the next time. I'm getting better at reading these Roman numerals, so that is something. Thank you again to everyone who decided to come out. It was really nice to see you all. I'm sorry I didn't stream last night. And I don't know when I will be streaming again. I might try to do it tomorrow. I don't know. Do I ever know? So, good night, everyone. Thanks again, and I will talk to you all soon. Thank you to Puppy Fight for subscribing. I really appreciate it. Thank you to B-Boy Wonderful A18 for following. Good night, and I will talk to you all later. Bye. Oh, I will see. Let's see who we can go and visit. Who is online? Oh, we can go visit Sand Experiment because she is doing her sand art, so that is what we will do.